Police, step back. We need to search the house.
You just kicked in my door. Where's your warrant?
We had a tip. Don't make this harder than it needs to be.
Tip doesn't let you break into my home.
Who else is in here?
No one. And you're recording a felony right now.
What?
I'm a federal prosecutor. Step out of my apartment now.
At exactly 6:42 a.m. on a weekday morning, 3 local police officers thought they were about to act on a routine anonymous tip. What they didn't know was that they were about to kick in the door of a man whose job was holding other people's cases together in federal court. They believed they were entering the apartment of a suspect. Instead, they forced their way into the home of someone who understood the law better than their entire shift combined. The man standing inside that apartment wasn't afraid of raised voices or flashing badges. He wasn't scrambling to hide anything. He was already documenting, already calculating jurisdiction, already watching their careers unravel in real time. And in the next 25 minutes, those officers wouldn't just violate the Fourth Amendment, they would compromise active federal prosecutions, obstruct protected duties, and create a paper trail so clean, so complete, that termination was inevitable. Before we continue, where are you watching from? If this is your first time here, hit subscribe. Stories like this only matter if people see how they actually unfold. The timestamp on the hallway security camera reads 6:14 a.m. The corridor is empty. Fluorescent lights hum overhead. 3 doors are visible in frame. Apartment 4C sits at the end. The door is closed, locked, undisturbed. Then 3 figures appear from the stairwell. They move quickly, purposefully, no hesitation. They wear street clothes under tactical vests, badges clipped to belts, weapons holstered but visible. Officers conducting what they believe is legitimate police work. They stop outside 4C. No knock, no announcement, no pause to verify the unit number against any documentation they might have or should have. One officer produces a battering ram, a compact steel cylinder with handles, the kind used for force entry. He swings. The impact is immediate and violent. The door frame cracks, the lock mechanism twists. The second hit splinters wood around the deadbolt. The third blow sends the door crashing inward, slamming against the interior wall with enough force to dent the drywall behind it. The officers enter immediately, weapons drawn now, flashlights cutting through the dim morning interior. "Police, nobody move!" Inside, a man sits at a kitchen table with a cup of coffee. He's wearing a t-shirt and sweatpants. His laptop is open in front of him. Papers are spread across the surface. He's been awake for maybe 20 minutes. He doesn't move. His hands stay flat on the table, fingers spread, palms down. The officers fan out through the apartment. One heads toward the bedroom, another checks the bathroom, the third stays focused on the man at the table. "Put your hands behind your head, now!" The man complies slowly. His expression shows confusion, not fear, not guilt, just the blank incomprehension of someone trying to understand what's happening. "What's this about?" "Keep your mouth shut." The interior security camera mounted near the ceiling captures everything. Wide angle, clear resolution, timestamp running in the corner. The forced entry, the drawn weapons, the resident complying with every command. The officer searching the bedroom returns. "Nothing back there." The officer who checked the bathroom shakes his head. "Clear." The third officer holsters his weapon and approaches the table. He sees the laptop, the papers, the coffee cup still steaming. "What are you doing up so early?" "Working." "Working on what?" "Case files. I work from home sometimes." "What kind of cases?" The man doesn't answer immediately. He's calculating, trying to understand the legal ground he's standing on, trying to figure out what they think they're here for. "Am I under arrest?" "We're investigating." "Investigating what?" "We got a tip about this apartment." "What kind of tip?" The officer doesn't answer. He walks past the kitchen table toward a doorway leading to a second room. The door is partially open. He pushes it wider and steps inside. What happens when police decide procedure is optional? The second room is clearly an office. A desk against one wall, filing cabinets, a printer, shelves lined with binders and reference materials, a second computer setup more complex than the laptop in the kitchen. The officer starts opening drawers, pulls out files, scans covers without reading contents. He's looking for something specific but can't articulate what. Drugs, weapons, evidence of whatever crime the anonymous tip suggested. From the kitchen, the man's voice carries through. "Do you have a warrant?" The officer in the office doesn't respond. He continues searching. At the table, one of the other officers pulls out his phone, scrolls through something, notes maybe, or the original tip information. Whatever he's reading doesn't include a warrant number or court approval. "Sir, I need to see some identification." The man at the table keeps his hands behind his head. "My wallet is in my bedroom, on the dresser." "Stay here." The officer walks toward the bedroom, returns a moment later with a leather wallet, opens it, pulls out a driver's license. The name on the license is Elijah Grant. The address matches the apartment number. Everything is current, legal, ordinary. But the officer's expression doesn't change. He's not looking for confirmation that this is the right apartment. He's looking for something that justifies the entry they've already made. In the office, the other officer opens a filing cabinet. The drawers are organized, labeled, color-coded tabs marking different sections. He pulls out a binder at random, opens it, sees pages of typed documents, legal formatting, case numbers, witness statements. He closes it and pulls out another. More documents, more legal language, nothing that looks like contraband or criminal evidence. But he doesn't stop searching. He's committed now. They kicked the door in. They entered with force. Leaving without finding something means admitting they had no reason to be here. At the table, Elijah lowers his hands slowly. "I asked you a question. Do you have a warrant?" "We're conducting an investigation." "That's not an answer. Do you have a signed warrant authorizing you to enter this apartment?" "We received a tip." Tips don't replace warrants. You need probable cause and judicial approval to force entry into someone's home. Do you have that? The officer's jaw tightens. He doesn't like being questioned, doesn't like having to explain his authority to a civilian. "We have reason to believe there's criminal activity at this address." "What criminal activity specifically?" "That's part of the investigation." "Then you should have gotten a warrant before breaking down my door." The officer from the office emerges. He's holding one of the binders. "What's all this legal stuff?" Elijah looks at him. "Case files." "For what?" "Work." "What kind of work?" "Legal work." "You a lawyer?" "I'm a federal prosecutor." The room goes quiet. The officers exchange glances. One of them shifts his weight uncomfortably. The other sets the binder down on the kitchen counter and pulls out his radio. Why do assumptions feel safer to authority than verification? The officer with the radio speaks quietly into it, too quiet for the security camera audio to pick up clearly. He's calling someone, a supervisor probably, someone who can tell him what to do now that the situation has shifted. Elijah stands slowly from the table. His movements are deliberate, non-threatening. He walks toward the office doorway and stops just outside, looking in at the open filing cabinets and displaced binders. You need to stop searching. The officer nearest him tenses. Sit back down. Those are federal case files, active prosecutions. You're contaminating evidence. We're conducting a lawful search. No, you're not. You don't have a warrant. You don't have consent. You don't have probable cause. And now you're handling materials related to federal criminal cases. That's obstruction. The officer who made the radio call steps between Elijah and the office. "Sir, we need you to calm down." "I am calm. I'm telling you that you've crossed a line you don't understand. This isn't just a Fourth Amendment violation anymore. You're interfering with federal prosecutions. We're just looking. Looking without a warrant is still a search. Touching case files without authorization is still contamination. Every second you're in this apartment, you're making this worse." One of the officers finally asks the question that should have been asked before the door was kicked in. "Can you prove you're a federal prosecutor?" "My credentials are in the office, in the desk, top drawer. I'll get them if you step back." The officers don't move. They're uncertain now. The confidence that carried them through the forced entry is evaporating. They're starting to realize they might have made a catastrophic mistake. Elijah doesn't wait for permission. He walks into the office, opens the desk drawer, and pulls out a leather credential case. He opens it and holds it up. United States Department of Justice, Assistant U.S. Attorney, Northern District. His photograph, his name, the federal seal embossed in gold. The credentials are unmistakable, authentic, official. The officer who's been doing most of the talking takes the case and examines it. His hands aren't quite steady. He's looking at federal identification that proves the man whose door they just kicked in has the authority to prosecute them. This could be fake. It's not. Elijah's voice is flat, factual. There's a verification number on the back. You can call the main Justice Department line. They'll confirm my identity and employment. The officer hands the credentials back without calling. He knows they're real. He just doesn't want to accept what that means. At what moment does a bad search become a federal offense?
Elijah walks past the officers and picks up his phone from the kitchen table. He dials a number from memory. The call connects after 2 rings. "Federal Protective Service, how may I assist you?" "This is Assistant U.S. Attorney Elijah Grant, badge number 7294. My home office has been breached by local police without a warrant. I need documentation and response." "Confirming your location, Mr. Grant. Apartment 4C, 1847 Riverside Avenue. Are you currently safe?" "I'm not in immediate danger. 3 officers are present. They forced entry at approximately 6:14 this morning. They're currently searching case materials without authorization." "Hold for supervisor notification." Elijah puts the phone on speaker and sets it on the table. The voice of the Federal Protective Service operator is audible to everyone in the room. "Mr. Grant, we're logging this incident and notifying your supervisor at the U.S. Attorney's Office. Are the officers still conducting the search?" "Yes." "Have they identified themselves or provided warrant documentation?" "They've identified as police. No warrant has been shown." One of the officers steps forward. "Sir, we need you to end that call." "No." "That's an order. You don't have authority to order me to stop reporting a federal violation." The operator's voice comes through clearly. "Mr. Grant, federal response is being coordinated. Please remain on the line and document everything verbally for the record." Elijah looks directly at the officer who told him to end the call. "Your names, badge numbers, which department you're with, all of it needs to be documented." The officers don't respond. They're frozen, caught between continuing to assert authority they don't have and backing down in a way that admits the entire entry was unlawful. The officer who checked Elijah's credentials finally speaks. "We were responding to a tip about suspicious activity." "What suspicious activity?" "The tip said there were drugs at this address." "Did the tip specify this unit number?" "It said apartment 4C. Did you verify that before entry?" Silence. "Did you confirm with building management that this was the correct unit? Did you conduct any surveillance? Did you attempt to get a warrant?" More silence. "You kicked in the door of a federal prosecutor's home office based on an anonymous tip you didn't verify.
You contaminated active case files. You searched without consent or judicial authorization. And you did all of this while being recorded. Elijah points to the security camera in the corner, then to another one mounted near the office doorway. Interior cameras, hallway cameras, all networked, all cloud-backed, time-stamped. Everything you've done is documented. The officer nearest the door pulls out his radio again. This time, he doesn't bother keeping his voice down. "Dispatch, we need a supervisor at 1847 Riverside, Apartment 4C. Immediate response." Why does authority panic when it finally meets oversight?
A supervisor arrives 11 minutes later. Sergeant Rebecca Ortiz, 21 years on the force. She takes one look at the broken doorframe and her expression hardens. She steps inside and immediately sees Elijah standing near the kitchen table with his federal credentials visible. She sees the officers standing awkwardly in the small space. She sees the open filing cabinets and displaced case binders in the office. Who authorized this entry? The officer who's been leading the search hands her a printed incident sheet. Anonymous tip came in at 0454, reported drug activity at this address. Where's the warrant? We made a tactical decision to enter based on the tip. Ortiz looks at the paper, looks at the officers, looks at Elijah. Sir, can you identify yourself? Assistant U.S. Attorney Elijah Grant, Northern District. This is my residence and approved home office. These officers forced entry without a warrant and contaminated federal case materials. Ortiz closes her eyes briefly. Then she turns to her officers. Outside, all of you, now. They file out into the hallway. Ortiz stays behind for a moment. Mr. Grant, I apologize for what happened here. I need to secure the scene and document everything. Are you willing to provide a statement? I already have. Federal Protective Service has been notified. The U.S. Attorney's Office is sending representatives. Your officers' body cameras will be subpoenaed as evidence in both administrative and civil proceedings. Understood. Ortiz pulls out her notebook. For my immediate report, did any officer present a warrant or request consent before entry? No. Did they announce themselves before forcing the door? No. The first sound I heard was the battering ram. And the case files they were handling, are those related to active prosecutions? Yes, 3 active cases, all at sensitive stages, all requiring chain of custody documentation. Your officer's presence here will need to be disclosed to defense counsel. It could compromise months of investigative work. Ortiz makes notes without comment. She knows what this means. She knows the disciplinary process that's about to unfold. She knows that 3 officers just ended their careers by kicking in the wrong door. Federal representatives arrive within 30 minutes. 2 from the Inspector General's office. 1 from the U.S. Attorney's Internal Security Division. They photograph the broken door. They document the disturbed case files. They interview Elijah while the officers wait in the hallway. The evidence chain is immediate and irrefutable. 6:14 a.m., forced entry captured on hallway camera. 6:14:22, officers enter without warrant announcement. 6:16, search of secured office begins. 6:23, Federal Protective Service notified. 6:25, officers informed of residents' identity and position. 6:25, search continues despite notification. 6:30, supervisor arrives. By noon, all 3 officers are placed on administrative leave. Their service weapons are secured. Their badge access is suspended. They're instructed not to discuss the incident with anyone outside official channels. By 3 p.m., Internal Affairs has opened a formal investigation. The charges being reviewed: unlawful entry without warrant or exigent circumstances, failure to verify tip information before forced entry, contamination of federal evidence, continued search after identification of federal authority, obstruction of federal duties, potential civil rights violations.
By end of business day, the story reaches local media. The headlines are vague but damaging. Police raid federal prosecutor's home by mistake. The details are sealed pending investigation, but the implication is clear. If this footage didn't exist, who would the system protect?
The civil rights lawsuit is filed within 2 weeks. Elijah's attorney is methodical. The complaint runs 43 pages. Every constitutional violation is cited. Every procedural failure is documented. Every second of security camera footage is referenced with timestamps. The lawsuit names all 3 officers individually. It names the city. It names the police department as an institution. It alleges Fourth Amendment violations, unlawful search and seizure, deprivation of civil rights under color of law, 42 U.S.C. Section 1983, obstruction of federal prosecutions, 18 U.S.C. Section 1505, negligence in training and supervision, emotional distress and professional harm. The city attorney reviews the case and immediately understands the problem. The officers had no warrant. The tip was anonymous and unverified. The search continued even after the resident identified himself as a federal prosecutor. Everything is on camera. Defense counsel tries to argue exigent circumstances, but there were none. No one was in danger, no evidence was being destroyed, no fleeing suspect was being pursued. It was just an anonymous tip about possible drug activity. Not enough to justify a no-knock entry under any legal standard. They try to argue good faith exception, but the officers never attempted to get a warrant, never conducted surveillance, never verified the tip. Good faith requires reasonable effort. This was just assumption and force. The settlement negotiations begin 6 weeks after filing. The city offers $400,000. Elijah's attorney counters with $950,000. The city increases to $600,000. The attorney holds at $950,000. The case is too clear. The footage is too damaging. A jury would side with Elijah overwhelmingly. The city would face not just compensatory damages, but potentially punitive damages for such a clear violation. They settle at $875,000, paid from the city's general liability fund. No admission of wrongdoing in the settlement language, but the payment speaks for itself. The settlement includes mandatory reforms. All forced entries require warrant approval unless life is in imminent danger. Anonymous tips must be corroborated before action. Officers must complete annual training on federal jurisdiction and Fourth Amendment law. All home entries must be reviewed by supervisory staff within 24 hours. Independent Civilian Review Board established for excessive force and unlawful entry complaints. The 3 officers are terminated 8 weeks after the incident. Internal Affairs concludes they violated department policy, state law, and federal law. Their peace officer certifications are revoked by the state board. They're barred from law enforcement work anywhere in the state. Sergeant Ortiz, who was not present during the raid but responded afterward, receives a formal written reprimand for failing to immediately order the scene secured and the search stopped. She completes remedial training and remains on the force. Elijah returns to work after the case files are recertified and chain of custody is reestablished. Defense attorneys in his active cases are notified of the incident. 2 cases proceed without issue. 1 case requires additional evidentiary hearings to confirm no contamination occurred. All 3 eventually result in convictions. The broken door frame is replaced. The security system is upgraded.
Federal approval for the Home Office is renewed with additional protocols. But something remains broken that can't be fixed with wood and locks. Elijah gives one statement to the press, brief, factual. The officers who entered my home had no warrant, no probable cause, and no reason to believe I was engaged in criminal activity. They made assumptions, they skipped procedure, and they violated constitutional rights that exist to protect all of us. The settlement and terminations don't undo what happened. They just prove that when violations are documented, consequences can follow. He doesn't say what everyone reading between the lines understands. Most people don't have federal credentials. Most people don't have security cameras. Most people don't have attorneys who can force accountability. Most people just have a broken door and a story no one believes. Before we continue, where are you watching from? If this is your first time here, hit subscribe. Stories like this expose what happens when procedure fails and documentation saves lives. The case ends not with celebration, but with proof that rights only survive when violations are recorded. The officers gambled that no one would challenge them, that force would be enough, that an anonymous tip was sufficient justification. They were wrong. The cameras caught everything. The credentials proved authority. The system for once held people accountable. But the door was still kicked in. The case files were still touched. The violations still happened. Accountability came after, never instead of. That's the reality. Rights don't prevent violations. They just create consequences when violations are proven. And proof requires cameras, documentation, and the resources to fight back. Elijah had all three. Most people have none. See you in the next one.
Please, you don't live here. What are you doing in this neighborhood?
None of your business, ma'am. Please step back.
You're casing houses or even dealing drugs. I'm calling the police right now.
You really don't want to do
Too
that.
late. You're not leaving until officers
You just
get
interfere
here.
with a federal operation. You're under arrest.
The footage begins without warning. An elevated HD security camera mounted on the corner of a quiet, high-end suburban home. Peaceful, silent, a perfect neighborhood snapshot. Until a woman storms into frame. A white HOA board member, furious, shaking, phone recording, marches straight toward a black man standing beside an unmarked van. He isn't arguing, he isn't moving, he's just watching a house across the street. Calm, focused, hands visible. But to her, that's enough. She blocks in his vehicle with her SUV, accuses him of casing houses, dealing drugs, and trespassing, demands he leave, demands he explain himself, demands control of a situation she doesn't understand. And when he tries to ignore her, she calls 911. What she doesn't know, what the camera captures perfectly, is that he's a plainclothes FBI agent conducting active surveillance on a federal target, and her interference doesn't just ruin his operation, it turns her into a federal suspect. Before we continue, where are you watching from? If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Stories like this need to be heard. The security camera sits 20 feet above ground level, mounted beneath the eave of a corner house in the Brookside Estates subdivision. It's a Wednesday afternoon in early October. The sun is bright, the streets are quiet, children's bikes lean against garage doors, someone's sprinkler system runs in the distance. Everything is exactly as it should be in an upscale suburban neighborhood where nothing bad ever happens. Then Patricia Carmichael enters the frame. She's 53 years old, vice president of the Brookside Homeowners Association, and she's walking with purpose. Her phone is already up, camera recording, her free hand gesturing as she marches toward the unmarked cargo van parked 3 houses down from her own. Next to the van stands a black man, mid-30s, wearing jeans, a gray hoodie, and running shoes. Nothing flashy, nothing threatening. He's leaning against the passenger door, eyes fixed on a house across the street.
His posture is relaxed but attentive, the kind of stance someone takes when they're waiting for something specific. His name is Derek Mills. He's a special agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and he's been watching that house for 3 hours because the man who lives there is a person of interest in a multi-state fraud investigation involving stolen identities and wire transfers totaling over $2 million. But Patricia doesn't know that. All she knows is that a black man she doesn't recognize is standing on her street, and that makes him suspicious. The security camera captures her approach from the perfect angle. She comes at him from the side, phone raised high to record his face. Her voice is loud enough to carry across the street. "Excuse me, what are you doing here?" Derek doesn't turn immediately. He's trained not to break surveillance unless absolutely necessary. His eyes stay on the target house, just waiting for someone. Waiting for who? Patricia steps closer, invading his space. "I've lived in this neighborhood for 12 years. I know every single resident. Who are you waiting for?" "A friend." "What friend? What's the address?" Derek finally turns to look at her. His expression is neutral, calm, professional. "Ma'am, I'm not causing any trouble. I'm just waiting. You've been here for hours. I've seen you. You keep staring at that house." She points across the street. "Are you casing it? Are you planning to rob them?" "No, ma'am." "Then what are you doing?" "Like I said, waiting for someone." Patricia's voice rises. "That's not an answer. I want to know exactly what you're doing on this street. You're making people nervous." "I'm standing next to my vehicle. That's not illegal." "It is if you're trespassing." "Public street, public parking. No trespassing involved." Patricia circles around to the back of the van, taking video of the license plate. Then she comes back to the front, getting closer to Derek. "What's in the van?" "Personal property." "Show me." "No. If you don't show me, I'm calling the police." Derek takes a slow breath. This is the exact scenario they train you to avoid in the academy. Civilian interference during active surveillance. He needs her to leave without revealing his identity, without causing a scene, and without alerting the target across the street that something unusual is happening. "Ma'am, I need you to step back and go about your day." "I'm not going anywhere. You're going to explain yourself right now, or I'm getting you removed from this neighborhood." Why do people who lack authority act the fastest to claim it?
Patricia walks back to her white Lexus SUV parked 20 feet behind the van. Derek watches her, hoping she's leaving, but instead of driving away, she repositions the vehicle. She backs up, turns, and angles the SUV directly behind the van, blocking it in completely. The security camera captures the entire maneuver. There's no ambiguity. This is intentional. This is entrapment. Patricia gets out and walks back to Derek. "You're not going anywhere until the police verify who you are and what you're doing here." Derek's jaw tightens. His surveillance operation is now compromised. The target might look out the window and see this confrontation, might realize something is off, might decide to run. 3 weeks of careful preparation could collapse in minutes because an HOA board member decided to play cop. "Ma'am, you need to move your vehicle." "I don't need to do anything. This is my neighborhood. I have a responsibility to keep it safe." "You're interfering." "Interfering with what? You won't even tell me what you're doing." "I don't owe you an explanation." "Yes, you do. I'm on the HOA board. I have authority here." HOA authority doesn't extend to public streets. Patricia pulls out her phone again, this time opening the dial pad. "We'll see what the police say about that." Derek realizes what's happening. She's going to call 911. She's going to report a suspicious person. Officers will respond. His cover will be blown. The entire operation will fall apart. He tries one more time. "Ma'am, please, you're making a mistake. Move your vehicle and go home." "Are you threatening me?" "I'm asking you to leave." "No, I'm calling the police." She dials. The call connects. The security camera audio picks up every word she says.
Yes, I need to report a suspicious person, a black male in an unmarked van. He's been sitting on Oakmont Drive for hours, staring at houses. He won't identify himself. He won't tell me what he's doing. I think he's casing homes for burglaries or possibly dealing drugs. He's aggressive and refusing to leave. Derek closes his eyes briefly. Everything she just said is false. He's not aggressive. He's not refusing to leave. She's physically blocking him. He's not dealing drugs or casing houses, but dispatch doesn't know that. They're hearing a white woman report a threatening black man, and they're going to respond with urgency. Yes, I'll stay on the line. Oakmont Drive, between Cedar and Maple. White van, no markings. Yes, I'm safe right now, but I don't know what he might do. Derek pulls out his phone. He sends a quick text to his field supervisor. Civilian interference, blown cover, need extraction protocol. The response comes back in seconds. ETA 4 minutes, hold position. 4 minutes. He needs to keep this woman calm for 4 minutes without revealing his identity, without escalating the situation, and without letting the surveillance target realize federal agents are watching him. Patricia ends the 911 call. The police are on the way. You can explain yourself to them. I will. You're in a lot of trouble. Derek doesn't respond. He just stands there, hands visible, posture non-threatening, waiting for the inevitable. Patricia isn't done. She steps even closer, phone camera inches from his face. I know what you are. I know exactly what you're doing here. Do you? Drug dealer, that's what you are. That's why you won't show me what's in the van. I'm not a drug dealer. Then what are you? Derek makes a decision. The operation is already compromised. The target has probably seen the commotion by now. There's no point in maintaining cover. He reaches slowly into his jacket pocket and pulls out a leather credential case. He opens it and holds it up in front of Patricia's phone camera. Federal Bureau of Investigation, Special Agent, Gold Shield, Department of Justice seal, his photo, his name. Federal Agent, you need to step away, now. Patricia stares at the badge. Her expression doesn't change. No shock, no embarrassment, just defiance. That's fake. It's not fake. You bought that on Amazon. Anyone can get one of those. This is an official federal credential. You can verify it when the police arrive. I don't believe you. Real FBI agents don't sit in vans watching houses. Yes, they do. It's called surveillance, and you just interfered with an active federal investigation. I don't care what you claim to be. You're leaving this neighborhood. What happens when someone is so committed to the lie they ignore the truth in their hands?
Sirens approach from the north. 2 patrol cars turn onto Oakmont Drive and stop in the middle of the street. 4 officers exit, hands near their weapons, scanning the scene. They see Patricia standing close to a black man. They see her SUV blocking the van. They see her phone recording. Patricia rushes toward them immediately. Officers, thank God you're here. That man has been stalking this neighborhood. He won't identify himself. He's got a van full of who knows what. I tried to get him to leave, and he threatened me. The officers approach cautiously. The senior officer, a veteran named Lieutenant Raymond Cross, takes the lead. Sir, can you tell me what's going on? Derek keeps his hands visible. Lieutenant, I'm a federal agent. I have credentials in my left inside jacket pocket. I'm reaching for them now. Cross nods, slowly. Derek retrieves the credential case again and hands it to Cross. The lieutenant examines it carefully, checks the holographic seal, the microprinting, the photograph, the weight and texture of the leather. His expression shifts immediately. You're FBI? Yes, sir. What are you doing here? Active surveillance. I can't provide details, but I've been watching a target in this neighborhood for the past 3 hours. This woman blocked my vehicle and called 911, compromising my operation. Cross looks at Patricia, then at the SUV blocking the van, then back at Derek's credentials. He hands them back. Agent Mills, I apologize for the response. We had a report of a suspicious person.
I understand. The report was false, but you had to respond. Cross turns to Patricia. Ma'am, did you physically block his vehicle? He was suspicious. He wouldn't tell me what he was doing. He's a federal agent. He says that. I don't believe him. I've verified his credentials. They're legitimate. Anyone can fake those. Cross's patience is thinning. Ma'am, I've been a police officer for 19 years. I know what federal credentials look like. These are real. Before Patricia can respond, a black Chevrolet Suburban turns onto the street and parks behind the patrol cars. A man in tactical plainclothes steps out. He's wearing an FBI field jacket, a radio on his hip, and a very serious expression. This is Supervisory Special Agent Marcus Trent, Derek's field supervisor. Trent approaches quickly. His first words cut through the tension. Why is my agent surrounded by patrol cars? Cross steps forward. Sir, we responded to a 911 call. The situation's been clarified. Trent looks at Patricia. Who called? I did, Patricia says. He was acting suspicious. He was conducting federal surveillance. Trent's voice is flat, controlled, but there's an edge underneath. Who are you? I'm on the HOA board. I have a right to know who's in my neighborhood. No, you don't. Not when it interferes with federal operations. Trent pulls out his own credentials. Supervisory Special Agent Marcus Trent, FBI. Your actions in the last hour have compromised an active investigation into wire fraud and identity theft. You blocked a federal agent, you filed a false report, and you're still interfering. Patricia's voice rises, defensive now. I didn't know he was FBI. He showed you his badge. I thought it was fake. Then you should have waited for police to verify it, instead of blocking him in and making false accusations. Trent turns to Cross. Lieutenant, we're going to need footage from that security camera. He points to the corner house. Everything from the last 4 hours. Cross nods. We can request that. Not a request, federal seizure under Title 18. Trent walks toward the house with the camera. The 2 junior agents who arrived with him follow. Patricia watches, her confidence finally cracking. You can't just take people's property. Yes, we can. It's evidence of obstruction. Trent knocks on the door of the corner house. An elderly man answers, confused. Trent shows credentials, explains the situation, and within 5 minutes the agents are downloading the security footage onto an encrypted drive. The footage shows everything. Patricia's approach, her accusations, her blocking the van, her 911 call with false claims, her refusal to accept Derek's credentials, every single action documented in high definition. At what point does ignorance become a federal crime?
Trent returns to the street, where Patricia is now arguing with Lieutenant Cross. I was protecting my neighborhood. How was I supposed to know? You were supposed to listen, Cross says. He identified himself. You called him a liar. Trent interrupts. Ma'am, we've reviewed the footage. You blocked a federal agent's vehicle. You filed a false emergency report. You interfered with an active federal investigation. Those are federal crimes. Patricia's face goes pale. I was just being cautious. You were being racially biased. If my agent had been white, would you have blocked him in and called 911? That's not fair. Answer the question. Patricia doesn't answer. Trent continues. Your interference caused us to relocate surveillance. We lost visual on the target for 45 minutes. He may have seen this commotion and realized we're watching. If he runs, if evidence is destroyed, that's on you. I didn't mean intent doesn't matter. Impact does. Trent signals to one of his agents. Contact the U.S. Attorney's Office. I want charging recommendations by end of day. Patricia's voice cracks. You're arresting me? Not yet, but you're under federal investigation for obstruction. I strongly suggest you contact a lawyer. Lieutenant Cross steps in. Agent Trent, we can handle this through local charges if... No, this is federal jurisdiction. She interfered with a federal operation. That's our case. Cross nods slowly.
He understands. This isn't about local ordinances or HOA disputes. This is about protecting federal law enforcement from civilian interference based on racial suspicion. Patricia starts backing away toward her SUV. "I'm leaving." "No, you're not." Trent blocks her path. "We need your statement, we need your phone, we need everything you recorded." "You can't have my phone." "Yes, we can. It's evidence. You used it to file a false report and to record a federal agent during an active operation. Hand it over or we'll seize it with a warrant within the hour." Patricia clutches her phone. "This is insane. I'm being treated like a criminal for calling 911. "You are a criminal. You obstructed a federal investigation." Trent turns to Cross. "Lieutenant, can you escort her to the station? We'll need her processed for obstruction and false reporting." Cross hesitates. He's uncomfortable with how fast this is escalating, but he's also seen the footage. He knows Patricia blocked the van deliberately. He knows she made false accusations. He knows she refused to accept valid credentials. "Ma'am, you need to come with me." Patricia looks around desperately. Neighbors are watching from windows and porches. Some are recording on their phones. The entire street has witnessed this confrontation. The vice president of the HOA, the woman who enforces every rule and reports every violation, is about to be arrested in front of everyone she's spent years judging. "You can't do this to me." "We can and we are." Trent's voice is final. "Turn around and place your hands behind your back." "I'm on the HOA board." "That doesn't mean anything to me." Patricia's voice breaks into a scream. "This is discrimination. You're targeting me because I called you out." "We're targeting you because you broke federal law." Trent nods to Cross, who steps forward with handcuffs. Patricia tries to pull away, but Cross is professional and firm. He secures her wrists behind her back while reading her rights. "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." The street is dead silent, except for Patricia's protests. The security camera on the corner house captures it all. The HOA board member who controlled this neighborhood for over a decade, who reported violations and enforced rules with zealous authority, is about to be arrested in front of everyone she spent years judging. How many times has this happened without cameras rolling?
The federal charges come within 72 hours. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Northern District reviews the case and decides prosecution is warranted. Patricia Carmichael is formally charged with obstruction of a federal investigation under 18 U.S.C. Section 1505, making a false statement to federal law enforcement under 18 U.S.C. Section 1000, interference with a federal officer under 18 U.S.C. Section 111. The charges carry a combined maximum sentence of 15 years in federal prison, though her attorney immediately begins negotiating a plea deal. The FBI issues a brief public statement. A civilian obstructed an active federal surveillance operation. Federal charges have been filed. The investigation into the original target continues. No names, no details, just the facts. The Brookside Homeowners Association holds an emergency board meeting. Patricia is removed from her position immediately. The board releases a statement distancing themselves from her actions and emphasizing that her behavior does not reflect the values of the community. Several residents file civil complaints against her, claiming her pattern of targeting people of color in the neighborhood created a hostile environment. Her attorney files motions to dismiss, but the security footage from that day becomes Exhibit A in multiple lawsuits. Derek Mills's surveillance operation is relocated. The target, the fraud suspect, noticed the commotion that day and became cautious, but he didn't run. FBI agents re-established surveillance from a different location. 2 weeks later, they executed a warrant and arrested him with sufficient evidence to secure a conviction. The case proceeded successfully, but the timeline was delayed because of Patricia's interference.
In her initial statement to investigators, Patricia insists she was protecting her neighborhood and doing what any concerned citizen would do. She never apologizes. She never acknowledges that her suspicion was racially motivated. She maintains that Derek looked suspicious, that his credentials looked fake, that her actions were justified. The security footage tells a different story. It shows a black man standing quietly. It shows a white woman approaching aggressively. It shows her blocking him in. It shows her refusing to accept his badge. It shows her making false claims to 911. It shows everything. If the badge had belonged to anyone else, would she have stopped? The security camera footage becomes evidence in federal court. It's entered into the record, time-stamped, authenticated, and played to the judge during Patricia's arraignment. The footage shows exactly what happened, without narration, without spin, without interpretation, just facts. Patricia eventually accepts a plea deal. She pleads guilty to 1 count of obstruction in exchange for the other charges being dropped. She's sentenced to 18 months probation, 300 hours of community service, and a $25,000 fine. She's also permanently barred from serving on any HOA board or holding any position of authority in community governance. The judge's statement at sentencing is pointed. You saw a black man in your neighborhood and assumed criminal activity. You ignored his credentials, you blocked his vehicle, you filed false reports, and you jeopardized a federal investigation. Your actions were not protective, they were prejudiced. This court cannot and will not tolerate civilian interference with law enforcement based on racial bias. Derek Mills continues his work with the FBI. Colleagues say the incident didn't shake him. He's experienced racial profiling before, both as a civilian and as an agent. But it reinforced why documentation matters, why body cameras matter, why security footage matters. Because without that video evidence, Patricia's version of events might have been the one that prevailed. The Brookside neighborhood remains quiet. The security camera on the corner house still records. Children still ride bikes. Sprinklers still run. But everyone who lives there now knows what happened on Oakmont Drive that October afternoon. They know that entitlement and authority are not the same thing. They know that suspicion without evidence is just bias. They know that interfering with law enforcement carries consequences. Before we continue, where are you watching from? If this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button. Stories like these need to be shared, and your support helps us bring more truth to light. This story matters because Patricia Carmichael had no legal authority. She wasn't a police officer, she wasn't security, she was just a woman on an HOA board who saw a black man in her neighborhood and decided he didn't belong. She didn't call the police because Derek was doing anything illegal. She called because he was black, because he was unfamiliar, because she had convinced herself that her comfort mattered more than his rights. And when he showed her a federal badge, proof of his authority, proof of his legitimacy, she called it fake. She refused to believe that a black man could be an FBI agent. She refused to accept that her suspicion was wrong. That refusal didn't just embarrass her, it made her a federal criminal. The security camera captured everything: the aggression, the blockade, the false accusations, the interference. And because of that footage, Patricia couldn't claim misunderstanding. She couldn't claim confusion. The evidence was irrefutable. Thanks for watching this story all the way through. If this opened your eyes to how racial bias can escalate into federal crimes, share it. If it made you think about the power of documentation, drop a comment. Do you think her sentence was appropriate, or should civilian interference with federal operations carry harsher penalties? See you in the next one.
I stopped you because I smell weed. Step out of the car.
There's no weed. I'm on duty. Let me explain.
Don't argue with me. I'll arrest you right now.
I'm showing you my credentials.
Credentials? Do you even know who I am?
You're threatening a federal ATF agent on your own body cam.
The body cam snaps on mid-approach. No introduction, no breathing room. just the rookie storming up to a black driver sitting calmly with both hands on the wheel. No weaving, no suspicious movements, no smell. But the rookie doesn't even blink before escalating. He leans into the window like he's already decided the ending, voice raised, shoulders squared, the kind of posture that says, "I'm in charge no matter what I see." Then he drops the lie that starts everything. "I smell weed." The driver's eyes widen, hurt, disbelief, something deeper. He tries to explain, tries to stay calm, but the rookie interrupts, threatens, pushes the stop toward arrest. And the moment the driver reaches slowly, carefully, and reveals a gold federal badge, the rookie still doesn't back down. That refusal didn't just end his job, it triggered federal sanctions, statewide embarrassment, and a disciplinary review that shook the entire department. But what made this rookie so confident he could lie his way through a traffic stop? And how did his own body cam become the proof that destroyed him? Before we continue, where are you watching from? If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. Stories like these need to be heard. The body cam footage begins at 4:37 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon in suburban Atlanta. The timestamp runs in the bottom corner. The audio is clean. Traffic hums in the background. The camera bounces slightly with each step as Officer Tyler Brennan approaches a dark blue sedan pulled over on the shoulder of Route 285. Brennan is 24 years old. He graduated from the police academy 11 months ago. This is his first solo patrol assignment after finishing his probationary ride-along period. He's eager, too eager, the kind of eager that mistakes aggression for confidence. The sedan is clean, no damage, current tags, no reason for the stop beyond a rolling stop at a yellow light 3 blocks back, a minor infraction that most officers would handle with a warning. But Brennan wants an arrest. He wants to prove himself. He wants to show his training officer and his shift supervisor that he can handle real police work. The driver sits perfectly still, both hands on the steering wheel at 10 and 2. His window is already down. He's wearing a polo shirt and slacks. Professional, composed. He looks tired, like someone at the end of a long shift who just wants to get home. Brennan reaches the window and immediately plants himself too close, invading space, establishing dominance. "Afternoon, sir. Where you headin'?" His tone isn't conversational. It's interrogational. The driver keeps his hands visible. "Just got off work, officer, trying to get home." "You were in a hurry back there. Ran that light pretty quick." "It was yellow when I entered the intersection. I didn't run a red." Brennan's jaw tightens. He doesn't like being corrected. "Step out of the vehicle." "For a yellow light?" "I said step out." The driver stays calm. His voice is measured, careful. "Officer, can you tell me why you're asking me to exit the vehicle? I'm happy to provide my license and registration." Brennan leans in closer. The body cam captures his face now, the tight expression, the rigid posture. "I smell weed." The driver's expression changes. Not guilt, not panic, something worse. Disappointment. Like he's heard this line before, like he knows exactly where this is going. "There's no marijuana in this car. I can smell it from here." "Officer, I don't smoke. I don't have any drugs. You're mistaken." Brennan straightens up, hand moving to his belt. "Sir, I'm detecting the odor of marijuana coming from your vehicle. That gives me probable cause to search. Now step out or I'm going to remove you." The body cam shows the interior of the car through the open window. Clean seats, no visible paraphernalia, no smoke, no smell. Just a briefcase on the passenger seat and a gym bag in the back. The driver takes a slow breath. "I need you to understand something. I'm on duty right now. I'm heading home from an active assignment. There's no marijuana in this vehicle because I'm a federal agent." Brennan scoffs. Actually scoffs. The audio picks it up clearly. "Sure you are." "I'm serious. I have my credentials. I'm reaching for them now." Do you think the officer planned to escalate from the second he walked up?
The driver moves with exaggerated slowness. His right hand leaves the steering wheel. He reaches toward his hip. The body cam captures every inch of movement.
There's nothing fast, nothing threatening, nothing that could be misinterpreted. He pulls out a leather credential wallet and holds it up in his open palm, facing Brennan. The badge catches the afternoon sunlight. Gold, official, unmistakable. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. Special Agent, Department of Justice seal. Photograph. Name, Julian Carter. Brennan stares at it for 3 full seconds. The body cam records his face. There's no surprise, no apology forming, just irritation. "I don't give a damn who you are," Brennan says. His voice is louder now, more aggressive. "You still ran that light, and I still smell weed." Julian's eyes narrow. "Officer Brennan, I showed you federal credentials. You're required to verify them before proceeding." "I don't need to verify anything. I've got probable cause." "You don't have probable cause. You fabricated it, and now you're interfering with a federal agent on duty." Brennan leans back into the window. "You got a smart mouth on you. That's going to get you arrested real quick." "I'm not being disrespectful. I'm explaining the law." "I know the law." "Then you know you need to call your supervisor and verify my credentials." "What I know is you're being non-compliant. Now get out of the car before I drag you out." Julian doesn't move. His hands return to the steering wheel. His voice stays level, but there's an edge now, real frustration breaking through professional control. "Officer, you are making a mistake, a career-ending mistake, right now." Brennan smirks. The body cam catches it, a genuine smirk, like this is all a game. "Everybody thinks there's somebody. I showed you a federal badge. Could be fake. It's not fake. Call it in. I'll call it in after I search your vehicle. You don't have grounds to search my vehicle. I told you, I smell marijuana. There is no marijuana. The only thing you're going to accomplish here is interference with a federal investigation." Brennan reaches for his radio. He's done talking. He's made his decision. He's going to prove that this driver, badge or no badge, doesn't get to tell him what to do. He keys the radio. "Dispatch, I need backup at Route 285 southbound, mile marker 47. I've got a suspected narcotics situation and a non-compliant driver." The body cam audio picks up Julian's response, quiet but firm. "You're lying to dispatch right now. There are no narcotics. I'm not non-compliant. I'm sitting still with my hands visible." Brennan ignores him. Julian tries one more time. "Officer Brennan, I am Special Agent Julian Carter with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. I am currently on duty returning from an active surveillance operation. You are now interfering with federal law enforcement operations. I am asking you one final time to verify my credentials and call your supervisor. Save it for the judge." What should an officer do the moment a federal badge is shown?
Brennan opens the driver's door. Julian doesn't resist, but he doesn't help either. He sits perfectly still, waiting for the inevitable. "Step out, now." Julian unbuckles slowly. "I'm complying under protest. This stop is unlawful. Your probable cause is fabricated, and you're about to escalate a situation that should have ended 3 minutes ago." Brennan grabs Julian's arm and pulls him from the vehicle. Not gently, not professionally. A yank that forces Julian to stumble slightly as he exits. "Turn around, hands behind your back." "You're arresting me?" "I'm detaining you." "On what grounds?" "Probable cause and obstruction." "I haven't obstructed anything. I've answered your questions. I've provided identification. I've explained my status. You're the one refusing to follow procedure." Brennan pulls out handcuffs. The metallic clink is loud on the body cam audio. He reaches for Julian's wrist. Then sirens approach, backup arriving. A patrol car pulls up behind Brennan's cruiser. The driver's door opens and a sergeant steps out. Sergeant Paul Hendricks is 41 years old, 19 years on the force, and he's seen enough bad stops to recognize one from 50 feet away. He walks up quickly, taking in the scene. Black driver, white rookie, federal credentials visible on the roof of the sedan where Julian set them when Brennan ordered him out, handcuffs in Brennan's hand. "Brennan, what's going on?" Suspected narcotics, Sarge. Driver's being difficult. Hendricks looks at Julian, then at the credentials on the car roof. He picks them up, studies them. His expression changes instantly. These are ATF credentials. He could be impersonating. Did you call them in? Silence. Brennan, did you verify these credentials? I was about to search the vehicle first. That's not the procedure. Hendricks turns to Julian. Sir, are you Special Agent Carter? Yes. Are you currently on duty? Yes. I was returning from a surveillance operation in Marietta. Your officer stopped me for a yellow light violation and then claimed to smell marijuana that doesn't exist. Hendricks looks at Brennan. You smelled weed? Yes, Sarge. Show me. Brennan walks to the open driver's door. He leans in. Hendricks follows. The body cam still picks up the audio. There's no marijuana in that car. I smelled it, Sarge. No, you didn't, and you just lied to me on body cam. I'm telling you, he showed you federal credentials. What did you do? He was being uncooperative. He was sitting still with his hands on the wheel. I watched your footage. You escalated from the first second. I had probable cause. You had nothing, and now you've interfered with a federal agent on active duty. Hendricks pulls out his radio. Dispatch, cancel that backup call. We're code 4. When you watch the supervisor's face change, what do you think was going through his mind?
Hendricks walks back to Julian. Agent Carter, I apologize for this situation. Can you tell me what operation you're returning from? Julian hesitates. He looks at Brennan, then back at Hendricks. I can't discuss operational details, but I can tell you that I was on duty, in transit, when your officer stopped me without valid cause and then fabricated probable cause to justify a search. Understood. Do you need to report this to your chain of command? I'm required to. Any interference with ATF operations gets documented and reported to the Justice Department. Hendricks nods slowly. He knows what that means. Federal complaint, internal investigation, media attention, department scrutiny, all because a rookie couldn't admit he made a bad stop. Julian pulls out his phone and steps away. He makes a call. The body cam audio is too distant to pick up the conversation, but his body language is calm, professional. He's reporting facts, not filing a complaint out of anger, just doing his job. Hendricks walks back to Brennan. You're done for the day. Get in your cruiser. Sarge, I was just... Cruiser, now. Brennan walks to his patrol car. He gets in the driver's seat. The body cam is still recording. He sits there, hands gripping the steering wheel, breathing hard. He's starting to understand, starting to realize that this isn't going away, that the badge was real, that the federal agent he just tried to arrest is about to file paperwork that will end his career. He mutters to himself, barely audible on the audio. I didn't know. How was I supposed to know? But he did know. The moment Julian showed him credentials, he knew. He just didn't care. He thought his authority was more important than verification. He thought he could bully his way through the stop. He thought a black driver wouldn't really be a federal agent. He was wrong. Julian finishes his call and walks back to Hendricks. My supervisor is filing an official interference report. ATF will be contacting your department within the hour. I understand. Again, I apologize. I appreciate that, Sergeant, but this goes beyond an apology. Your officer lied about probable cause. He refused to verify federal credentials. He physically removed me from my vehicle and attempted to detain me. All of that is on his body cam. This isn't going away. I know. Julian gets back in his sedan. He starts the engine. Hendricks hands him his credentials through the window. Drive safe, Agent Carter. Julian nods and pulls away. The body cam in Brennan's cruiser watches him leave. Do you think the rookie really didn't know, or was he hoping intimidation would work? By 6 p.m., ATF Regional Director Michelle Torres has filed a formal interference complaint with the Atlanta Police Department. The complaint is detailed: timestamp references, body cam footage citations, specific violations of federal law and departmental policy. The complaint alleges fabrication of probable cause, failure to verify federal credentials, unlawful detention of a federal agent on active duty, interference with federal law enforcement operations, use of excessive authority without justification. By 8 p.m., the chief of police has watched Brennan's body cam footage 3 times. He's consulted with the city attorney. He's spoken with the mayor. The decision is unanimous. Brennan is suspended immediately pending investigation. By Monday morning, Internal Affairs has opened a formal case. They interview Brennan. He sticks to his story. He smelled marijuana. He had probable cause. The driver was uncooperative. He didn't realize the credentials were real. Then they play the body cam footage, all of it, every second. The lie about smelling weed, the refusal to verify credentials, the escalation despite Julian's calm cooperation, the dismissal of a federal badge, the smirk, the threat of arrest. Brennan has no defense. The footage destroys every claim he makes. The Internal Affairs finding is unambiguous. Officer Tyler Brennan violated department policy, state law, and federal law. He fabricated probable cause. He failed to follow procedure regarding credential verification. He interfered with a federal agent. He demonstrated bias, poor judgment, and a fundamental misunderstanding of his authority. Recommendation: immediate termination. The recommendation is approved within 24 hours. Brennan is fired. 11 months on the job, 1 traffic stop, 1 lie. Career over. But it doesn't end there. The Georgia Peace Officers Standards and Training Council reviews the case. They determine that Brennan's conduct warrants decertification. He loses his law enforcement certification. He cannot work as a police officer anywhere in Georgia, ever. The Justice Department's Office of Professional Responsibility adds Brennan to a federal sanctions list. He's barred from any position that involves interaction with federal law enforcement. No joint task forces, no federal contracts, no security work involving federal facilities. The Atlanta Police Department releases a brief statement. Officer Brennan's employment has been terminated following an internal investigation. The officer's actions did not meet our standards or reflect the values of this department. They don't mention the body cam footage. They don't mention Julian. They don't provide details. But the message is clear. We don't protect officers who lie. Julian Carter's ATF operation was delayed by 90 minutes. Surveillance was compromised. A suspect they'd been tracking for 3 weeks became suspicious and went dark. The case eventually closed successfully, but the delay created complications that could have been avoided, all because a rookie cop couldn't admit he made a bad stop. If the body cam didn't exist, how differently would this story have ended? The body cam footage became required viewing at the Atlanta Police Academy. New recruits watch it during their constitutional law section. They watch Brennan approach with aggression. They watch him fabricate probable cause. They watch him refuse to verify credentials. They watch him destroy his own career in real time. The instructors pause the video at key moments. What should he have done here? When should he have called his supervisor? What does the law require when federal credentials are presented? The answers are obvious to everyone watching. Verify, de-escalate, follow procedure, respect credentials, admit mistakes. But Brennan didn't do any of that. He committed to the lie. He doubled down on the aggression. He refused to acknowledge that he might be wrong. And it cost him everything. This story matters because Tyler Brennan isn't unique. Across the country, traffic stops escalate based on fabricated probable cause. "I smell weed" is a magic phrase that justifies searches without evidence. It's used disproportionately against black drivers. It's used by officers who want arrests more than they want justice. But most of those stops don't involve federal agents. Most of those drivers don't have badges to show.
Most of those people can't file federal interference complaints or trigger Justice Department reviews. They just get searched, get detained, get arrested, and hope that someone, somewhere, will believe them when they say the officer lied. Julian Carter had every advantage. He had credentials, he had legal knowledge, he had federal backing, and even with all of that, Brennan still tried to arrest him. Think about everyone who doesn't have those protections. Everyone who gets stopped for smelling like weed when there's no weed. Everyone who gets pulled from their car and searched based on a lie. Everyone whose body cam footage gets buried or malfunctions or never gets reviewed. The body cam saved Julian's case. It proved the lie. It documented the escalation. It ended Brennan's career before he could ruin more lives. But how many stops happen every day without cameras? How many lies go unchallenged? How many Tyler Brennans are still out there fabricating probable cause and destroying lives one traffic stop at a time? Before we continue, where are you watching from? If this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button. Stories like these need to be shared, and your support helps us bring more truth to light. Thanks for watching this all the way through. If this story opened your eyes to how easily a traffic stop can become a civil rights violation, share it. If it made you think about the power of body cam footage, drop a comment. Do you think termination was enough, or should there be criminal charges for fabricating probable cause? See you in the next one.